Hey everybody, this is Sharon from HT Biz Law, and are you ready for the end of the year? Now is the time to do your end of the year planning. There are many things that you need to think about at this point. You need to think about, do you have the client contracts in place that you need? Is there anything you need to change? How about your vendor contracts? Over the next couple minutes, we're going to talk about all those things that you really should be thinking about for the end of the year. So let's first talk about your existing client contracts. You need to check all of the client contracts that you have to make sure that either they're ending at the end of the year, which is what you want, or they're rolling over, which is what you want. Typically, there's going to be at least a 30 or 60-day time frame before the end of the year, and usually contracts, even if they may not start at the beginning of the year, often run through the end of the year. They'll adjust that first year. You want to figure out whether they're contracts that you still want to be in. Do you want to keep performing services for this particular client? Have you stopped performing services for the client, meaning the services are over, but is the contract still going? You never want to keep a contract in place longer than you actually need it, because typically provisions like confidentiality obligations or indemnification or limitation of liability, topics that we've talked about before, those obligations typically survive or last longer than the contract. So you want to make sure that if you want to be out of a contract, now is the time, and check that termination clause to find out how much notice you need to give. Similarly, you need to look at your vendor contracts. Do you have offshore help? Do you have an office assistant? Do you have software that is a license basis? You want to look at all of your vendor agreements. Vendors meaning third parties, either people or companies that you are getting services from. Just like your client agreements, you don't want to have a vendor agreement roll over for another year with imposing payment obligations on you if in fact you're no longer using that service. And that's something I check every year. I check my client agreements. I also check my vendor agreements. Is there any software or packages or services that I don't use anymore that I want to stop paying for? Now is the time. Even if the contract doesn't end right at the end of the year, this time of year is a good time to make a list of all those contracts that you have. Something else you want to consider at this time of year is, are there any changes to your business service offerings that you want to change starting January 1st? Either canceling or amending a service you already offer, maybe it's raising your rates, or is there a new service that you want to roll out starting in January? Well, now is the time to be planning for that rollout. You can't wait to the first week of January to roll out a service in January, and you don't really want to be mentioning it for the first time in December either, because so many people will take vacations, or they're focused on finishing the things they have to do by the end of the year. So right now in October, early November, that's the time that you want to deal with both changing services or prices for your current customers and developing and getting your marketing in place for services that you may want to start offering in 2024. You always want to keep track of your prices. Are you pricing your services right for the next year? Have you gained a lot of knowledge? Do you have so many clients that you can afford to let a couple of the lower billing ones go in order to bring on higher rate clients? That's really important, because as you've grown in popularity and expertise, you may have new people coming to you and you don't need to charge your older, perhaps starter rates. So definitely now is the time to think about those things. And something else that you want to think about this time of year is, has your business changed in such a way that you may not comply any longer with your privacy policy or with your terms of use? Did you say that you never do something, for example, you never sell your marketing list to third parties, but now you actually want to do that? Or do you have new trademarks and new copyrights that you want to specifically mention in your terms of service that you want to protect? Now is a great time to amend your privacy policy or terms of service to make sure that your website is actually giving you the protections that you need, your website policies especially. And you might even want to be amending the content on your website itself. My business, we're actually going through a rewrite right now because we've changed some service offerings a little bit, or we want to say things in a clearer way because over the course of the year, maybe we got the same question more than once from either a client or potential client. So we want to make sure that our website rolling into January is as up to date as can be. And finally, and this is a purely legal thing, have there been changes in the law that affect your type of business? This is particularly going to be something you want to pay attention to if you're in finance, if you're in communications, if you're in medicine or healthcare, industries that are very regulated by the government. New requirements may have come out that may require you to make changes behind the scenes or to take new steps behind the scenes so that you can comply with these new regulations going forward. So I hope that you are all geared up to make the last quarter of 2023 as powerful and fantastic as it can be for you, and that you go into 2024 with all of your plans ready to go. This is Sharon from HD Biz Law. Have a good Q4, everybody. Bye.